After watching the video on YouTube about invisible illnesses, the person that stood out the most to me was Kimberly Falvo Torres. She reminds me a lot of my cousin. MS is something that's very near and dear to my heart. Both my cousin and my aunt have both struggled with this disease. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't really understand it. I have watched them go through moments and periods in their lives where they've been completely able to function as everybody else, and the moments where all of a sudden they're not able to walk. And just like she characterized in the video, where they go from walking one day to using a cane to using a rollator to being wheelchair bound for indiscriminate periods of time, unable to care for themselves. I've even watched my cousin be unable to see at times and have to depend on her young children to care for her. The unfortunate thing about the disease is that people don't understand it. And I've even found in my own family how people really question if she really is struggling, if she really has this disease, or if she's just making excuses because she doesn't want to deal with everyday life. So I think when it comes to living with MS and advocating for individuals who suffer from this debilitating disease, a disease that leaves them unable to care for themselves the way they want to or engage with everyday life the way they want to, education is so key. I think being present for even medical appointments for family members is super important. In addition to being present for medical appointments to truly understand how the disease affects you, it's also being very transparent and vulnerable, and that's really hard. I watched my cousin struggle with being vulnerable with our family, afraid of being criticized or being marginalized or even being stigmatized. It's been a true battle for her. So as a social worker and as a loved one of somebody that struggles with MS, I think the best thing that we can do is advocate, but also empower those that are living with this disease to know that it doesn't define them. So that comes from supportive services. But when it comes to our families and to the workplace, changing the way we view disabilities is going to be key. Giving people information about what it means to live with MS or any other invisible disorder or disease is key. In addition to that, also being able to speak candidly and openly, empowering the person that's living with the disease to speak to those that are in their most intimate circles is key. Telling them truly how they're feeling on each day, and then helping them to understand that it's not something that they're making up. I think that's the biggest failure and misconception, is that people are making it up and they're making excuses for not engaging in everyday life. I know that we keep going back to education is key, and education can be challenging. I know for myself, it was hard to believe that a loved one could really be experiencing something like this. And it wasn't until I went to a medical appointment, when I had to myself help her, that I truly understood the gravity of what it means to be living with a disability such as MS. So education, vulnerability, and a willingness to be transparent and invite people into your struggle, I think is key. People have to often put themselves in your shoes as a person living with a disability before they can truly understand it. So I think that these are the keys to really helping people. But it can be truly challenging to really understand or even believe that someone we love so dearly could be struggling to this degree, silently battling themselves. This was a hard post because it's complicated to really begin to address how to view invisible disabilities differently. The first thing and the only thing that can come to mind is vulnerability, education, and inviting our loved ones into our experiences every day.